Good morning, everybody. I have a special guest today. I've been talking a lot to you about researching and looking into people who are running for school board and superintendent and all of these positions in your cities and towns and counties and states that need to have a change of leadership. And I want to introduce to you Shelli Boggs. Good morning, Shelli.
Good morning.
Shelli is running for the Maricopa County School Superintendent, and Maricopa County Schools has some problems, some issues. And Shelli, tell my viewers a little bit about yourself and why you're in this race.
Well, I was a teacher for 13 years. I saw a lot of the corruption coming through. I'm going to say about 10 years ago, I started fighting it within the system. When you do that as a teacher, you get a big target on your back. And so they come after you, they lie about you, anything they can to berate you. And so what I ended up doing was I resigned from my position. I put a very strong school board team together, and we ran for school board and we took over the district. We uncovered corruption, and we were able to change the culture at the East Valley Institute of Technology. It was 20 years of corruption in there. I have spent the last, decade fighting this. I think with COVID happening, it opened the eyes of a lot of parents, and things that we had been fighting before COVID. It was kind of a blessing, I guess, in disguise. We always say that there's a lot of blessings that came with COVID, and one of those is parents being aware of what is actually happening in our schools, because we were going out, we were trying to expose it, and we were called all kinds of names for years for doing that, and COVID exposed it, and now parents are awake to it. So I was born and raised in Arizona my entire life. I come from a family of educators, people. My mother worked in the industry, the salon industry, just a hardworking family, and we are very, very strong in our beliefs in my family. And when I see something that's not right, it's very hard for me to step away from it and just let it go. And I did not do that in education. I've stayed in the fight, and I'm very grateful for the parents and the people who have stepped in to help us.
It's amazing, isn't it, Shelli, how somebody like you who's trying to expose something, I went through the same type of thing in my fight about illegal immigration. I've been doing this for 10 years, and of course they were coming after me hot and heavy at the 2020 RNC when I was supposed to speak there. And because of a retweet about the Rothschilds, a hit piece calling me an anti-Semitic angel mom was put out, and they canceled me at the RNC the day of when my speech was supposed to be shown because of a retweet about the Rothschilds. I mean, this is something that happens if you talk about Soros too. So you're trying to expose corruption in the school system. And of course, those people who are heavily involved in the corruption are definitely going to get their group of goons to come out and try and discredit you, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to keep the power, right?
That's the only way they can do it. Luckily, we have enough. Well, I don't know if we have enough. We have a lot more parents that are coming to the plate, but even they, all of us, honestly, none of us that are in this right now, we were not political. We were just living life. I know I was just a mom. I was a teacher. I was a Pop Warner mom. I was a cheer mom. Minded my business, living in my blissfully ignorant life until politics finds you. When it finds you, you either run and hide or you stay and fight. And I stayed in and just fought. I've been figuring it out, and luckily we have people that have gotten on board with that. With the fight.
It takes a strong person to be able to put up with the criticism and the lies and, you know, the people who don't like your personality, or they don't like the way you look, or they don't like what you said to somebody. I mean, it's so insane, the things that people bring up. And, you know, you and I are both running in these political circles, and, you
Right.
know, hear the side conversations going on, and it's like, really? You know, but I've really been encouraging my viewers, because I've recently had a situation where I was all for a certain candidate, and a candidate, an incumbent who's really being pushed of, this is a person we need to keep in this position. But I listened to the person running in opposition of them, you know, in the Republican Party. And I thought, this is why people are fighting against her, because she's going to bring a change, and she's going to bring the truth. And,
Right.
you know, so this is why I feel it's really important to get people like you, Shelli, on a podcast and get you out there and let people hear exactly the changes that you envision happening. I went on your website last night, and let's go down the list of things that are on your website, and tell people why those are the most important things on your website, and how you think that you can change this, the respect for parental rights.
Well, you know, the past few years working with all of these, I say moms, there's some dads in there, but our moms are our fighters. They stand strong. I've been working with them, requesting information from these school districts, and the school districts dragging their feet, not giving us the information. The lack of respect that is being shown to the parents, it's unforgivable, and it's caused such a distrust with parents and teachers. If we aren't respecting the parents, whether they agree with them or not, you're not going there's not going to be, you cannot mend this relationship, and our schools are just going to keep failing, and parents are going to keep taking their kids out of the schools. And I don't think most parents want to do that. So respecting their rights is what's going to save the relationship with the parents and the teachers. As long as they're demonized, we go to school boards, we try to bring things to light to these school board meetings, and then we're demonized for it. Then these parents go and run for school board because their voice wasn't heard as a parent. Well, they're going to go get on the school board, and then they're going to listen to the parents that come. Then media demonizes them for that. It's very hard to win, but you have to be strong, and we have to have our parents respected. It has to happen.
And, you know, if there's something that's being hidden that shouldn't be happening, that would be the only reason for anybody to balk or delay giving the information requested. Because as parents, we send our children to school, and you're educating them on math and reading and geography, and you have a set agenda of the things that you should be teaching our children, what parents expect their children to be learning at school,
and what they're trusting is being taught, and it's not.
Right. So if there's any riffraff going on in the classroom, and you strayed from the agenda, and you're going on a more personal note and doing some, you know, stupid things, then when a parent asks you, you know, what is happening, that teacher is going to be taken back and thinking, oh God, did their child tell them what I'm doing in class? And, you know, that's the only reason, Shelli, for anybody to be afraid of exposing or giving information to parents, right?
That's exactly right. And you know what? I talk to a lot of teachers, being in that industry for so long, in that profession. There's a lot of teachers that are just like, they're hanging on to be able to stay in, and they know it. They know that their role is important because they aren't activists. They are there to teach. They have to work around words in their curriculum that they should never have to worry about. And they cannot speak up. If they speak up, they're demonized by these teachers who are activists, who are part of the Red for Ed movement, who are in the teacher union. And so they have to just be quiet. And I believe there's a lot more good teachers than there are the activists in there. But when you're belittled and demonized and made to feel like you're doing something wrong, you just stay to yourself. It's very, very difficult. I fought back during Red for Ed, and it's not a lot of fun to be the one voice in there speaking back. But I couldn't go along with what they were doing. They all wore their Red for Ed shirts on Wednesdays and, walked out on these kids. And I didn't do that. I bought myself a John 3:16, like, true story shirt and wore that. That was my Red for Ed shirt. So they did their political stuff. I did what I did. So it was pretty rough.
Yeah, and and then these goons or these activist type teachers who get upset because parents or another teacher or somebody is questioning what's going on and they're afraid of being exposed, they start taking that misinformation and start demonizing you or anybody else who would be fighting that, to the PTAs, to this group, to the the group of the solid moms who hang out and do things for the school. And that's how they sow their seeds of distrust and misinformation and evil, because then that one lone person who's trying to stand up and bring the truth to the masses is now viewed as the evil enemy.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true. I've also been in contact with some of these, because when they know that there's a voice for them somewhere, like, people just flood you. I'm constantly being getting messages, text messages, phone calls from teachers, and now even the social workers that are being brought into the school districts, because, like, one of them told me for 30 years she's been doing this work in school districts, and the last few years, when she's bringing kids in who are, struggling with their mental health, her very first question, she told me, is that she has to ask them if they're comfortable in the gender that they were born in. She said she's never had to do that, never. And now all of a sudden, that's the first question and the topic of conversation that comes right out of the gate. And she, for the first time, is thinking she needs to get out of it because she feels like she is harming the kids more than she's doing any good anymore. And we've been researching that and seeing that, like, in the social work, in the psychology, like on their websites, it's the forefront of every single thing. And it's just
the first
harmful.
question that you ask a child, Shelli.
It's not.
They're going to think, well, is there something wrong with me if I'm okay in the body that I'm in? I mean, do I need to say something different? They are the ones sowing the seeds of doubt in our children's minds.
Right. This gender confusion has got to stop. We've all gone through challenges growing up, going through adolescence. We all know that there's challenges through that. When you start focusing it on something like that, and that's all it's geared to, eventually a child's going to be like, maybe they're right. Maybe I am. Maybe that is what's wrong with me. And they'll prey on these young kids that, don't have that solid family home. And there's a lot of that.
Well, and I've often said, because of the pulling the children away, not only from their daily routine of going to school during COVID, but pulling them away from their friends and making them feel so isolated and all of that. And then they bring them all back into the classroom. And what a perfect incubation place for these gender confused teachers to start pushing this on the children. Well, you're not depressed, honey. You've got gender identity problems.
Right.
I mean, this, because honestly, that's when the huge amounts of children who were going through this, that's when it started, Shelli. It wasn't before COVID. We didn't have.
No. Yeah. Because there's a lot of these, I don't know if there's that libs of TikTok. You go on there and those are teachers. Like, honestly, I feel like they needed help a long time ago. Where was their help?
Yeah.
You know, they had mental issues going on, whatever it is, the instability, you can see it because their posts, their reels, the different things that they do, it's not normal behavior. And now they're in the classroom with our kids, and it's being put, their issues are being put on our kids' backs, and that it's insane to me that we are overlooking the actual mental issues with these kids by taking them in a direction that is not helpful. It is harmful to them.
So as a superintendent of Maricopa County Schools, would you have any authority over the hiring process and to be able to, see the signs of a troubled teacher and say, you know what? I mean, you can't say this, but wouldn't it be wonderful in this world if we could to say, you need to go get mental help if you think that you are going to be in a classroom teaching children? I mean, come on, and slap them across the face and say, snap out of it. But
well, what you would want to say is, don't you want the help? Aren't you tired of struggling like with what you're dealing with? That's how I would feel. Unfortunately, that is not something that the superintendent of Maricopa County could do, or the state superintendent. What we could do is have an influence, bringing in programs and different things that school boards can adopt. So the most important thing we can do as a team for this collaboration to work perfectly is to take over the school board. So if we get these school boards who are focused on kids doing the right thing for kids, none of the DEI, some people call it CRT. I've always just called it the brainwashing and teaching racism. Like however they want to label it is whatever. They want to make it look, decorate it to look nice and cozy and comforting. It is what it is. It is racism. It's brainwashing the kids. There are plenty of programs and curriculum that these schools can adopt. But we can't do it if we don't have the strong school boards willing to get in there and push back, making sure the superintendent is doing the right thing. But right now, there's nothing on the website. The current Maricopa County superintendent doesn't influence any kind of good behavior. Right. Many people don't even know he exists. Like, they don't even know that position was a thing.
I didn't even know
that's unfortunate. The very powerful thing that this position has is the ability to appoint people to vacant seats on the school boards, where that can make a difference. We saw in Mesa, Rachel Walden's in there all alone, fighting, uncovering, these the district transitioning a student without any parental consent, and she's the one person on that board fighting, and there was a vacant seat, and the community spoke out. They said who they wanted, and the Maricopa County superintendent he chose somebody else.
Right.
And so Rachel's in there fighting for parents, fighting for these teachers, the real teachers, the actual teachers, who want to do the right thing, and she's all by herself, and they just attack her. And he could have made a difference. Just one person helping these parents and helping her. And he just chose not to. Did the same thing out in Peoria. We've got Heather Rooks out in Peoria that's battling these people. They call her the Bible thumping bimbo, and the names that she's being called, and she's fighting for our girls to be safe in the bathroom. And there was a dad that came. Law enforcement comes to every board meeting. He over and over again talks about the importance of the kids' safety, and he submitted his name for the vacant seat. Because of what happened in Mesa, I reached out to him and asked him to meet with Heather and I, with Heather Rooks and the board member who was leaving that vacant seat. because I felt like, okay, he's not getting in the community, so he's not listening. He's out of touch. Let's bring you guys to him. So now you guys can have a conversation with him. He can understand what's going on. And then when it's time to make the appointment, it's a more caring, thoughtful appointment.
Right.
And that didn't happen. We spent 3 hours with him trying to tell him like what is going on. And when the appointment came, he found somebody. And, you know, then she never went to board meetings. She had no idea what was going on, and leaves Heather all alone again. And this young girl, this girl that they've chosen to be on that board is just, she's easily manipulated, influenced, and it's very apparent by her votes. And that's not what we need. That is not a caring. It's not caring.
No.
And it again ignores the parents.
And I think it's really uplifting, you know, for a lot of people who aren't really involved in the nitty gritty and know what's going on with school boards and all that type of thing across the valley here, and maybe even across the country. It is kind of uplifting to see the attention that is being given to this, and the good people, the grassroots people who are running for school board positions. We have 2 great candidates running for Mesa to join Rachel Walden and to help her in that fight. But when you go to these board meetings, Shelli, I've been to a couple of them at Mesa. If it's a hot topic that the board knows, there's going to be a lot of parents there fighting against what they're trying to do. They will bring their activist goons in and just fill up that room. And it appears to parents who maybe showed up for the first time, oh, we're overwhelmed. But
defeated.
What people need to understand is you have a vested interest in that school. The majority of those people who show up at these meetings to cause trouble or make it appear that the bad guys have more support than the good guys, they aren't in your school district 9 times out of 10.
That's for sure. That's for sure. We started fighting this long before COVID, and we were going into Chandler because back before, you know, the CRT was out there, it was called the Corwin Deep Equity was the curriculum that they were bringing in, and we were fighting it. We tried to fight it in Kyrene. We didn't beat it in Kyrene, so it starts shifting and moving into all these districts. So we went into Chandler, and we were fighting it in Chandler, and all of a sudden there's just tons of people sitting on the floor. They're doing their snapping. These activists, they weren't even from Chandler,
right?
And so it is very intimidating to these parents who get up, and then the parents are, you know, emotionally going to the mic, talking about the experiences that their children are having because of this racism being taught in the schools, and just demonized by the room. Yeah. And parents do need to know, and I don't know how else except for things like this, podcasts, brave parents speaking out, letting them know, like, you're not alone. We're here. These people aren't even a part of what we're doing. They're just brought in to be noisy, to make the noise and make us, you know, intimidate us.
Shut you up, you up and make you never come back to a school board meeting again.
Yeah. And it works. There's been, you know, when COVID, you know, when the schools weren't opening, or the parents were trying to get the schools to open, and everybody went down to the Capitol, I was with the group of parents that we had been fighting this stuff for years. We were down there at the Capitol, and just like, we're overwhelmed. We were like, oh my gosh, like, look at all of these parents. It was just it almost emotional to us. And you know, and then I sat there for a minute, and I looked at the moms, and I was like, how long are they going to be able to stand strong with us? You know, how long are they going to be able to withstand what's going to come at them in this fight? And, you know, and it's dwindled. We still have some strong people that have either hung on or joined, you know, because now their kids have experienced something that's unfair. But if all of those parents had stayed strong with us in this fight, I think we would have beat this a lot sooner. But again, they get demonized. It's intimidating. They need to go back to work. Everybody went back to work. People are working, you know, raising kids, and it's a very frustrating fight.
It is, but parents and grandparents, you need to understand that if you go to an event and you feel pretty passionate about it and you want to become a part of that, you may not be able to show up at every event that they may be holding, but stay engaged and find out, you know, if they've got 10 events a year and you're able to attend 3 or 4 of them, attend 3 or 4 of them. Let these people know who are really pushing and who are attending all of them and out there fighting on a daily basis for you and your children. Let them know that they're going to have this support so that there's a never-ending flow of support at these events. This is what we need to do as a community, because these are the people that have stood up, like Shelli. These are the people that have stood up and decided, I'm going to fight for you. And so you need to show some sort of support and, you know, of these people who are taking on that role, because there's not a whole lot of people who want to be on a school board, especially if you go to a meeting and see how nasty they can get. And to be the head of Maricopa County Schools, that's a tough job, and it's going to come with a lot of you know, hate and people that are going to be going after Shelli because she knows what needs to be fixed in the school district. We've kind of talked.
Marianne, I can't hear you. I have lost the sound. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Did you hit the mute button?
Don't know why.
There's a mute button.
I can't hear you. If you can hear me, I can't hear you. I don't know what's happened.
All right, I'm going to text you. Oh, let me see. All right, I just text you.
I wonder if I leave and come back. Should I leave and come back?
All right, we'll wait for Shelli to come back in. All right. Sometimes there's little glitches like this that happen. Really want to get into a couple of other, goodness sakes, it's 10:30 already. I can't believe how quick this goes when you've got some things to talk about. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I couldn't hear you. We were talking about.
There's a little microphone on the screen, so if you hit that and oh, that would be muting you though. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't touched anything. All of a sudden, I couldn't hear you anymore. So.
All right.
Anyway.
So we've kind of talked about protecting and defending. No, we haven't. Protecting and defending school choice. So this is a big deal in Arizona because we've kind of been the forefront of this. And, you know, the Democrats like to put out that the ESA vouchers are bankrupting the state, which is the furthest thing from the truth, because these parents get less than half of the funding that their child would get if they went to public school. So kind of touch on that a little bit.
So I like to call it education freedom.
Yes.
My oldest daughter, both my daughters homeschool my grandkids. I have 7 grandkids. They because of what I've been doing for all these years, they're very aware of it. They did start their kids in some of the charter schools, but even some of the ideology has been leaked into the curriculum, into the in some of the charter schools, not all of them. And my girls they were like, we're not taking any chances, and we can do this. So they do utilize that education freedom. And our current Maricopa County superintendent, you don't hear a lot about that from him. And so parents don't, there needs to be more information out there so these parents can know that there's more options. They don't have to go to their neighborhood school anymore. They don't have to go to these unified school districts. If there's something they don't like that's going on in the schools, they have that opportunity to remove their kids from that environment and put them in something that aligns with what they're doing in their home, in their families, teaching proper history, just reading alone. Like the kids, the proficiency is just, it's atrocious. It's very disheartening to see what's gone on. But I watch my grandkids thriving and learning, and they're only doing 2 or 3 hours a day of school, and they're way above their the level they should be in school. And I think parents just need to know what the options are. And our current Maricopa County Superintendent briefly touches on it, but it's not. He could do better. I know what I would do would be better in just educating the community, educating the parents, and not to demonize the unified districts. But when there's competition, they'll have to arise when there's enough enrollment that has left these unified districts that feel like the need for this new social emotional learning is something that needs to happen when it really doesn't. When enough people remove their kids from those programs and into something that is more academic focused, these schools are going to have to change.
Exactly. I mean, I go back to when I was a child and I was going to parochial school when my father retired from the Air Force and we came back here. I was born in Mesa, but left for a while my dad was in the Air Force, came back here in 3rd grade, got enrolled in parochial school. And finally, by the 7th grade, I finally talked my parents into letting me go to the junior high right up the street from my house so that I could meet some kids in my neighborhood, because the parochial school was outside of the neighborhood.
Right.
But Shelli, it was unbelievable how far ahead I was in my studies from what the public schools were. And I breezed through the rest of that year because I knew everything that the teacher was teaching already.
Right.
And so, when there are better options that focus on academics and, like you said, not on the feel-good gender, sex type things that our children have no need for at those ages. Of course, parents and yes, I agree with you. There needs to be more information given out to these parents and equip them with the information that they need to make the right decision for their child, who they know the best education form would be for them.
Right. The school districts have just dumbed down. They've just dumbed down education. They've lowered the standards, and in the name of equity. Well, that doesn't help. No. That doesn't. It has harmed the kids. They don't have their self-esteem is knocked down. If they're white, they're the bad guys. If they're minority, they're When I went to school to get my teaching certification, this was years ago, I did not go through the traditional university pathway. I took courses on the weekend through the University of Phoenix, and I was working full time. So it took me a little while to get through all of it. But I did not have one professor in one of those classrooms that said anything about racism. So that feels like that's just in these universities. My professors told me, your job is to empower kids with knowledge every single day. They are in front of you, and that's the power that you give them, is they have the knowledge and they can change whatever life they have going on at home with that. You don't know what's going on in their home, and it's none of your business. Your business is to make sure that they know what they're there to learn. And so I don't know what has gone different, like these universities, they are just push the social justice, and all that does is hurt these kids. There's nothing empowering when you tell a kid that, a student that's minority, like it's so sad that you're this color. Now you have less opportunity. And then you tell somebody who's white, you're the bad guy. Like,
Yeah.
how is that empowering to these students?
Well, and it points out the very fact that that teacher sounds racist, even saying that sort of thing. And the skin color of a child should never be a topic of discussion in a school setting anyway. And,
Never.
I think that parents, we expected and we understood, when they get to the university level, that they're going to be indoctrinated, and you got kooky professors there. Come on. This has been known for decades. But the COVID thing made people realize that, oh my gosh, it's starting in kindergarten and
Right.
first and second and third grade. And, maybe this is why there's so much unrest at home, because you don't even know what's happening in the classroom. These children come home and they have hate for their parents because what the teachers have been teaching them. And is that why there's so many school-age kids on antidepressants and problems with relationships at home with their parents? And, my goodness, Shelli, if we went through all the avenues, of why things are the way they are, I think we would be sick to our stomach, to realize how the part teachers are playing in this.
I agree. I have been friends with, he's a superintendent right now in Mojave County, but he was a principal at one of the schools I worked at. And we've stayed in touch for the last, 15 years. And every district he has moved to as a principal, we talked about the school that we were at together. It was clean, like the students, the expectations in the classroom were high. The dress code was enforced. You didn't chew gum in class. You didn't eat in class. The campus was immaculate. If you saw something on the ground, you picked it up and you threw it away. So he and I talked about that, how important that is even for teachers to enforce that type of behavior. He took that into every district that he's moved into and has changed the culture. I worked for him in Florence School District just before COVID, when everything shut down. But we talked about the different things that he has implemented in that Florence School District, and we kind of modeled it after with the broken windows, Giuliani, when he went in and changed New York.
Yes.
With all of the corruption that was going on there. We call it the broken desk theory. So when you see something, you fix it, and you take pride in what you do and your work and how you look. And, there's nothing racist about going to school in a dress code that covers your body,
Yes. You froze up, Shelli. Let's see if
and he has changed cultures within the school districts that he's worked in without having any DEI or CRT. And he is now in Mojave County as a superintendent in a school district and has implemented this broken desk theory that we've been working on for years, because it works. There's data that shows the learning in the classroom improved. We have all the data, and that's what I want to bring to Maricopa County, along with all the different curriculum that can be implemented. We can make the change. It can happen. We have to have the right leadership, and we have to have people in these places that know how to navigate it. And I've been doing it for years even when I got on that school board, there was so much corruption, and there was a CFO there who, she wasn't even a CFO. She was a business manager. She didn't know how to manage the money. I knew this about her because I knew her for years. So very nice lady, very smart. But if there was any money discrepancies or anything going on, it was easy for that superintendent to blame her because she didn't know. So when I got on that board, I made sure one of the first things after we got rid of the former superintendent was to make sure our CFO was educated in business. Our superintendent doesn't oversee that. Like, he makes sure that he's hired somebody who is proficient in the financials and the financing, or financials for schools. The that is very different. School finances is completely different from every other type of finances in government. There are so many buckets. And if you aren't versed in that, it's easy to be able to move money in buckets that probably doesn't belong. And I served on the financial budget committee in Queen Creek for years. So then when I got on the EVIT school board, I was very familiar with school finances. So watching her, I knew that she needed some extra help. We got her trained and she's fantastic now. But it takes somebody to go in there to empower these people, to bring the right people in, to make sure your school is running properly. So we have policy that has been put in place because I've been ahead of this. Knowing what was coming politically, we have policy. There's no racism to be taught. Schools, our classrooms, you cannot talk about skin color. It doesn't happen. Pronouns aren't discussed in the classrooms. Our kids are safe in the bathrooms. All of this I've stayed ahead of. We have policy there, and it's because of, again, the activism that I have been involved in for years before, that by getting on this school board, been able to stay ahead of all of it. And it's important that we have somebody in this position who knows how to navigate it. And I am really I'm the only candidate in the Republican Party who has been on a school board. Even our current superintendent right now has never served on a school board.
Wow.
And he's hired a CFO in there that has caused problems. They have it's like $2 to $5 million investigative, like there's an investigation going on. He doesn't like it to be called an investigation. He calls it an audit. It's a forensic audit, which is an investigation on the misuse of $2 to $5 million. We don't know what the details are on that because he hired an attorney back in May. And so everything has been in executive session. So there's very little that we know about what is really going on behind the scenes in there. So until that forensic audit or investigation is over, we aren't going to know the details. But what I do know is there is a problem, and I know how to go in there and fix it. I did it already at a different district. And if we don't have somebody in this position that knows how to navigate that, it's just going to be the same problems over and over again.
Right. The fiscal responsibility that you talk about on your website, that kind of plays into what we were just talking about, but you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. There's in a lot of the district, there is a lack of accountability. And I think that being in this position, I know this on my EVIT school board, when we bring new board members in, that's one of the main things I have a study session on, is the finances. Because the new school board, they don't know what that is. They don't know how to navigate it. It's foreign. The school finance, I don't care what you've done in government. When you get in the school districts, it's completely different. So right. I make sure that we have that, I guess, the study session, the focus on school finances, so that they know what to do. In this position for Maricopa County School Superintendent, I think that it's very important that anybody that I would appoint would have to go through a training on school finances, so that we have that fiscal responsibility in all of the school districts. And currently in this position, like I said, the superintendent.
Hopefully she comes back on here.
Our tax dollars are paying for an attorney, and we don't get to know what's actually truly going on. We know there's something because I think there was maybe 1 or 2 articles that went out that, most anybody has access to be able to see. But after that, it's been in executive session. We have no idea what's going on. And he gets to run. He gets to continue to campaign because nobody knows the details of what's going on behind the scenes. And that's just unacceptable.
I think her Wi-Fi's or her service is just a little wonky, is why we're experiencing this. But this is a lack of transparency, what she was just talking about, when you have a school superintendent who's really keeping this audit kind of suppressed, and we really don't know what's going on. This is where people are starting to get disillusioned in people who are in elected positions, because they don't provide the transparency that we need, that we crave, that we deserve to have, especially when it's our tax dollars that are being used for this sort of thing. And I believe that this audit that she was talking about, and the money that was missing and unaccounted for, I believe it was COVID money that was given to the Maricopa County School District. So whether it's federal dollars or money that the state passed along, that is where the issue is. I'm hoping she comes back on here. We're almost done. Here she comes. There you are.
I don't know what happened. It just stopped.
You kind of were freezing up, so I think maybe it was a connection issue, because you kept
Okay.
freezing.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, so we have a limited time. I want to get through the rest of these things. So you talk about getting politics out of school, which I agree with 100%. You know, history is one thing, but politics is another. And I don't think that politics is any place in a school setting, especially when I see videos of teachers with kindergartners and first and second graders marching around a room saying, "We hate Trump. We hate Trump." I mean, what is this about?
The political ideology is just insane that has happened. I worked as a college career specialist briefly, almost 2 years, which was very eye-opening too, by the way. Like I taught career and technical education. I've taught English. I was a resource teacher, and I taught, lots of different subjects to, just any students who needed extra help. But going into that college career specialist was eye-opening. I had to go into classrooms to talk to kids, to talk to students about their career path. And so I would go into these government classes, because a lot of times the seniors have to take government. And I would go in there, and there's like Bernie Sanders like videos in every classroom. That's every day that I went in there. And the ideology that's being pushed on our kids, it's just unacceptable. It's not even necessary. That's they can't even
vote. They can't even vote.
They can't even vote, but they're teaching them how they want them to. That's for sure in these classrooms. And it was discouraging to watch. But I also got to meet with enough students that came in and let me know that they weren't happy about it. And so there's a little bit of a light at the end of that tunnel, knowing that there are kids that are free thinkers. Thank goodness.
Right.
But the political ideology in these classrooms it's harmful. It's not, oh gosh, it's child abuse. I mean, the things that they're teaching and pushing on their beliefs it's unacceptable. So we just have to make sure that we have school boards, get our school board candidates elected that can put a policy in place the way I did at EBIT. That's unacceptable. We don't have that. It can't happen. And at EBIT, our administration we put them all on an at-will contract. So they're not on a regular teacher contract. So anything that if they're overseeing specific programs, if there's a teacher that is not following policy, it falls on our administrators. So they have to hold these teachers accountable. If they don't hold these teachers accountable, they're the ones on the chopping block. They know they're in trouble.
Right.
So it forces these administrators to make sure the teachers are teaching and there's no political ideology. And it was a simple change in the contract. And so if something like that needs to be, I mean, I can influence those kind of behaviors.
Right.
Bringing in these new school board members in for training. It's just knowing. They don't know what they can and can't do, and that is something they can do.
Right.
So that helps with eliminating some of this political ideology that's just harming everybody. It's harming the whole country.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%. We talked about responsible school board appointments. Support teachers, not activists.
Yeah, that's
That's a big one.
when I was talking to you about the teachers that contact me, and even administrators, they are just they're put in positions where they don't have a voice, and the activists have taken over. And when you talk to some of these school districts, there's more teachers who actually want to be in the classroom teaching, and they are just overpowered by the activists.
Yeah.
And we need these teachers need to know that they are supported, and that's another platform I can have and use in this position is empowering these teachers who are there. We can empower them by highlighting them, bringing them in, doing podcasts with them. What are you doing? Different things that motivate these teachers to feel proud for what they're doing and not demonized for not following along with the ideology that's being pushed on them. There's a lot of different things that we can do, and I will do.
And even as little as recognizing them, having a school board recognize them at a school board meeting for something that they've done during that past month or the past quarter or whatever, little things like that really uplift a teacher. But if you look at the word activist and you put it in any scenario, look at the people out protesting at the colleges, but even the BLM or all that stuff going on in Seattle and Portland. The thing about these people that is the most irritating thing to me, Shelli, and I know this is true with the teachers who are on the evil side, they think they are right no matter what, and that everybody else is stupid and ignorant, and there is nothing you can say to ever get through the thick brain wall that they have. And
you have to think like
stupid because you have a different point of view is something that irritates me more than anything.
And also they've spent a lifetime getting degrees. Yes. They're professional students. And so it's just embedded into their hearts, into their souls, into their brains. And so they go into these school districts thinking, I have all these degrees, I'm educated, you're not. What have you done? Those of us who have, we've done what we needed to do our job, but then lived in the world, in the real world, were demonized for not having, 500 degrees in education, and that makes them smarter than everybody else. They do not know real life. No. They live in a world that does not, it's just not reality. And another thing too, with this shortage, with this teacher shortage, they use, they're allowing people, if you have a degree in anything, to pay for a teaching certification, and then you can be a teacher. Yeah. The teaching profession used to be an honorable profession, and it's no longer that. And it's very unfortunate because, we're the ones that are molding the future. And we just bring these people in. If you have a degree in whatever it is, now you're qualified to teach. It's unacceptable. And then they're not going through the proper professional development courses to tell them, this is what you do, not that.
Exactly.
And that is something else I can bring to the table. And I have professional development already set up, ready to go. And it pretty much can detox these people. And if it doesn't, then they don't belong. Right. If you come in and you understand what your job is after the professional development that I can implement, that I will implement, they're either there to be activists or they're not. And they should not be lasting too long in a classroom when we can overpower them with actual teachers and administrators, superintendents who care and put our students first and their education first.
100%. So my on one stream, my main sponsor, my podcast ends at the 55-minute mark, but we're still live on Facebook and we're still live on YouTube. So tell everybody real quick, Shelli, your website, where they can go to donate to your campaign, because campaigns all need money, and give any last words that you want to give about your campaign and yourself.
We do. My website is www.boggsforschools.com, and there's a donate button on there. You can read all about everything about me, the proven leadership that I have. I have served on the EVIT board and have been in education fighting back against all of this political ideology for years, 10 years. And probably earlier than that, I just didn't realize it, which has got the target on my back, but openly for 10 years. And I've been doing it, in thankless positions, unpaid, because it is important. At this point, I think that I can go in here. I know I can go in here and be a voice for our parents, for our teachers, and make the difference that is necessary, because I've done it already. I did it at EVIT, and that school district is a $145 million budget. It oversees districts from Santan Valley all the way into Cave Creek. And so it's a chunk of Maricopa County that we oversee. And I have that, the leadership. I'm not really good about talking about myself, but I know in this position and in what I'm doing, people need to know what I can do, and I can bring that culture change that is so needed in the Maricopa County School Superintendent's office. I will bring the knowledge and the programs, anything that I know will be beneficial for our school districts. I will be in the communities. People will know my name. They will know that I am there to be a voice for parents, for teachers, for kids, for our school districts. They aren't going to question what my intents are, and they'll be able to count on me to do what's right for our kids. It's been very sad to see the direction that our kids have taken with the love for our country, the kneeling for our national anthem. We're the last best hope, and they don't even realize it. If they knew what America was and what it offers to, like, people are fighting to get in here. They're crossing the border to get in here for a reason. Some not great reasons, but there are reasons. If they knew that and understood that, nobody would ever kneel for the flag. They would never kneel for the national anthem. And so we need to bring that back. We need to bring the love of our country, family, God back into our schools and back into the homes. That's where a difference is going to be made. So anyway, I can do all of this stuff. I just need the votes. I need you guys to vote for me and to know that you can have confidence in what I'm going to do. I've navigated this for 10 years, and I just need to get in there and do what we need to get done.
And I think a lot of the things that you talked about today on the show inform people and let them know that you are experienced, to step into this position. So if anybody has any questions for Shelli or wants to get more information, you can contact her through her website. Her email address is on there, and you can get questions to her. But don't forget, these us conservative candidates need money in order to run and get into these positions and make the difference that you're longing for as a constituent of ours, or as a voter in Arizona, Maricopa County, in legislative districts. We need that money in order to get in there and do the job that you're hiring us to do. So Shelli, I appreciate you taking the time today to come and be on the show and just give people more of a glimpse of who you are and why it would be important to vote for you for Maricopa County School Superintendent.
Thank you so much for having me, Marianne. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
All right. So Bella, come here. Get up here. You want to say goodbye to everybody? Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Because she knows it's time that we're getting off the phone. When I say, I hope you have a nice weekend, or I hope you have a nice evening, that's when she knows I'm getting off my podcast. So have a nice weekend, and we will see you back here on Tuesday. I have Jerome Davison, who's running for Congressional District 4 here in Arizona. He's going to be back on my show on Tuesday of next week. So join me then. Have a great weekend.